Many things are happening in the world today. Many things are happening, right? We have the Rona running around. We have estimates every single day from the government talking about how many people are projected to die. Once it was 10,000. Next day is 100,000. Right now, as far as I know, it's looking at 240,000 people dying. Climate change, the rise in hate crimes. Many things are awry in this world today. Outside of these walls and those paintings back there. And well, one of them is actually a poster, not a painting. Many things are going on, but to the gamer, none of these things matter outside of our beautiful digital worlds that we love to immerse ourselves in. It is our hobby, but not only is it a thing to do, it is a lifestyle. Wait, this is wrong. Wait, we're talking about the wrong thing. Wait a second. All right, rewind. That was the opening for the Resident Evil talk. We're not talking about the Resident Evil talk. Okay. We're going to restart. All right. I need to do the intro again. We need to restart. Okay. Listen, take a deep breath. We're messing it up already. All right. I need to bring it back now, y'all. Okay. This is not what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at this other thing. Okay. Here we go. Rona has been sweeping the world, all right, and has been taking economies around the globe for a freaking tumble dry, all right, on high for an hour. It's not looking too good. All right, stock market are having its worst days since the Great Depression. Many people are being laid off. Many people are out of a job and or furloughed and are finding difficulties posting rent or buying food, or these many things are going on here. And while this is true, there are still the essential worker. Myself, I am identified as an essential worker, same as the sign spinner across the road for your local pizza shop is an essential worker, as well as nurses, because we all have the same terrible job. Listen, they have to deal with dying patients. I have to deal with Karens. Okay, life just is that. Dems be the breaks. Okay, it's a struggle out there, but I think as workers, people who put in our hard labor, use our time, body, sweat, and tears to build capital for the companies that we work for, and are employed by, and spend our time and energy putting in labor to get some money back to help care for our families and keep a roof over our heads and eat food. I think we should be taken care of. However you would like to define that, I guess that can be talked about, but I think we all should be taken care of, because I just believe that humans don't deserve to suffer, especially in situations like this. I think as just like rights, we should have we should be protected from such things, but some companies disagree. Even in this time of great strife, union busting, and companies have their eye on the prize. Okay, they never lose sight. They have one goal, and that's to make money, not to help us. This is true, right? This is just true. They either have to be forced or shamed into doing so, because that is not on their agenda. Okay, so with this all out of the way, we can look at this very special thing, which is Amazon fires New York worker who started a strike over coronavirus concerns. So let me set the scene for you. Corona, spreading through the world, killing many people, right? Projections are growing every single day. Started around 10,000, then went to 100,000. Now we're looking at maybe 240,000 people dying. And if we don't do anything, researchers have said it could be in the millions. People who could have their lives ended by this plague. So while this is happening, there are many people who are now thrown onto the front lines working through this crisis to help keep uh, just some basic functions and some things who are arbitrarily called um, essential services alive and running. And this is all being done without their consent. I mean, this is just true. Okay, so listen. All right. So Chris Smalls, who led workers who demanded protective gear and pay, Bill de Blasio orders investigations for the dismissals. This is what happened. All right. An Amazon worker who led a walkout in New York City facility on Monday has been fired. This was a little while ago. I'm not sure when this was posted, but this has been on the 31st. It's been about 8 days. It's been about a week since this happened. Chris Smalls, an assistant manager and organizer, learned of his termination, and dozens of workers protested against the company's response to the coronavirus outbreak. It's a shame on them, Smalls told Vice News on Tuesday, to fire someone after 5 years of sticking up for people and trying to give them a voice. See, listen. These sorts of companies are very ruthless. I don't know if anybody's heard of the working conditions in Amazon, but it's very bad. Okay, it's very, very bad. Like people peeing in bottles because they don't want to be fired for taking 2 minutes to do a basic human need, which is use the bathroom. So they have to, urinate in like bottles and poop in bags. So their manager won't like instantly crack the whip over their head and kick them out, leaving their family to die in the streets. Okay, listen, that's terrible. I think it's improved somewhat, but I'm not sure what it looks like today. But the fact that they were even there is absolutely disgraceful. Okay, listen, strikers at the JFK warehouse in Staten Island demanded Amazon temporarily shut down the large facility for cleaning after reports of multiple employees being tested for COVID. Listen. Remember when I said that I think workers should be taken care of? I think these sort of basic steps aren't anything that you should have to protest over. Like the building being cleaned after you're thrown onto the front lines of a pandemic and being forced to work through one of the most like uncertain and difficult times in like recorded in like recent history, like the last 50 years at the very least. And on Tuesday afternoon, New York's Mayor Bill de Blasio said he had ordered the city's human rights commissioner to investigate the dismissal. I'm not sure if anything's come back from that yet. I'm pretty sure these things take a little while. Like I said, this has been about a week, so it may take 2 or 3 weeks to get this done. The respiratory disease has infected more than 140,000 Americans, like reportedly. I mean, that we're very bad at getting these tests out. So we have absolutely no clue how many are infected or how many people have infected other people. They said like for about one person that's infected, they usually infect about 3 other people. So you can say that we're closing in on 500,000 people being infected right now, like kind of on average that we could probably expect right now. Around coming up on 500,000 people infected, and it's killed more than 3,000 people, which is the amount of people who died in the terror attacks. Listen, that's insane. And we've only just gotten started in this. Let me remind you that still about 20 states in the country haven't done anything to quarantine people, to stop the spread. Things are just going on as normal, right? No stay-at-home orders, nothing. All right, about 20 states. So it could be even worse. The workers also demanded more protective gear and hazard pay as they work through this pandemic. Listen, all right. This is basic. Maybe like some gloves, some masks, maybe some eyewear as well, since the corona can slip into your eyeball and then infect you. There's like this, I remember like when this was first coming around, there was a big story about a nurse in Wuhan who got infected through her eyes, even though she was wearing a mask and everything. So now everyone has to wear like goggles too. They have to wear like freaking scuba gear to make sure they don't get infected now. And these people are just kind of walking around without any way to protect themselves, and the company's not doing anything. The company doesn't care because they could all get sick. They could just try and hire more people. It's really terrible. Amazon confirms that 2 workers at JFK 8 tested positive and were quarantined. Workers allege the number is underestimated. In a call-in response outside the fulfillment center, protesters reportedly chanted, "How many cases we got? 10." So that's a pretty big discrepancy between how many people Amazon says is infected and how many people are infected. Now, listen, I can't take any real side. I don't know who's right there, right? They say 10, the company says 8, but by the way the company is acting, I'm more inclined to believe the workers, but I'm sure probably some cases may not be, maybe like false flags or anything, right? Remember, this is still flu-like symptoms that we're thinking of. But obviously there are people there who have coronavirus and they're not shutting down. And this endangers people's family. What if they have someone who's immunodeficient at home? What if they have to care for their like elderly parents, something like that, and they come home from a place that you make them work at? They're an essential worker. They still have to come into work with this going on, and on their hands, on their clothes, while they're dealing with their like children or their like other elderly people, they give it to them and then they die. Right? You're putting other people's lives on the line and giving them nothing in return. That's just not right to me. In a statement, Amazon alleges Smalls had close contact with a diagnosed associate, but did not comply when asked to remain home with pay for 14 days. Despite the instructions to stay home, he came on site today, the 30th of March, further putting the teams at risk, the statement said. This is unacceptable, and we have terminated his employment as a result of these multiple safety issues. But there's a problem with this. They're going to explain. According to the company's previous statements, the infected coworker in question had last reported to work on the 11th. Had Small been exposed to that on that day, a 14-day mandatory quarantine would have been made, and it would have been made him eligible to work as soon as the 25th. So they fired him for being back to work at 5 days after their quarantine cleared him to come back to work. Maybe, just maybe, they didn't fire him because he violated the quarantine procedures. Maybe they fired him because he's leading protests to make the company pay to protect the people that they're having work through a disease that could kill their family. You know, just a guess. Just a quick little guess here. According to Amazon, no one else was fired. Small says he was considering legal action, calling it a no-brainer. Anyone who sees this as a direct target. Anyone can see this as a direct target. Yeah, that's pretty true. I'm pretty sure this is a pretty bad move on Amazon's part. It's a pretty bad move on Amazon's part. And that's just not me. Amazon's lawyer calls the fired strike organizer not smart or articulate in a meeting with top executives. So after this happens, the executives go to their little situation room to figure out what to do about these disgusting, leechy workers who decide they want to get mad over them being put in danger of killing their families or themselves, hauling around 50-pound boxes of anal lube to get to someone's doorstep in the next 16 hours. Okay, listen, this is a problem. An Amazon executive attempted to discredit the Staten Island warehouse worker who was fired after organizing a walkout this week, according to leaked memo by Vice. Amazon has a long history of union busting. Walmart as well have a long history of union busting and lying to their employees and putting in procedures with their managers to try to stop people from worker organizing to better their wages, because old meme, divide and conquer. When you can pit workers against each other, is better for the business to have people compete for their wages, and at a total they can reduce everybody's wages basically. So this is pretty in line with them. Someone's able to get workers together to actually care about the situation that they're in, and motivated enough to fight for it against the company. Obviously, this can't stand. All right, that has to be shut down. So that's exactly what they did. During a meeting, Amazon SVP and General Counsel David Zapolsky advised the company to make Christian Smalls, the fired Staten Island worker, face the warehouse workers' growing calls for greater workplace protections amid the coronavirus outbreak. Yeah. This is pretty easy. They could have just remember. They could just avoid this. They could have avoided this by giving people masks and gloves. That's basically all they wanted, with masks and gloves to protect themselves from getting sick. But apparently that's too much. Zapolsky said that Smalls was not smart or articulate, and said Amazon should focus on highlighting to the press how the organizers' conduct is immoral, unacceptable, and arguably illegal. Corporate lawyers, baby. Not smart or articulate. Immoral, unacceptable, and illegal. This is the world they want for you. A world in which you argue for basic human rights is a world where such things are immoral and unacceptable and hopefully illegal. Nothing that these workers did was wrong. Nothing that they did was wrong. For wanting basic protection in the line of work that they do, since they cannot control the situations that they're in, since they cannot follow CDC guidelines, since they can't follow WHO guidelines, since they can't follow your local pediatricians, nurses' basic guidelines for protecting yourself during this. They can't do it because they have to go to work, and they have to be around people who they don't know where they've been or where they're going next, and they have to touch things that they don't know where those things have been, and they can't sanitize them. And you know for a fact that there's not hand sanitizer everywhere. And you know for a fact these people don't have the time in their work schedule to wash their hands as much as they would like to, or as much that would protect them from contracting the virus. They can't do any of this. And such basic needs as gloves and masks is a world in which such arguing for basic help is a world in which it's illegal and immoral. Incredible. Small says Small said he was fired for organizing the strike, but Amazon said he was fired because he violated social distancing. We already went through that. My comments were Amazon did not confirm that was said in the meeting, but the spokesman provided the CNBC statement attributed by Zapolinsky. My comments were personal and emotional, Zelensky stated. I was frustrated and upset. This is him trying to cover his own ass for the terrible things he said about a worker trying to make sure he doesn't kill his grandma when he goes home after a long day of work, tugging around like anal beads from one end of the store to the other. I was frustrated and upset. Then Amazon employee would endanger the health and safety of other Amazonians. Is that legit what Amazon calls their workers? Amazonians? Like, I work at McDonald's, okay? I don't know if like they're gonna start calling us like McManiacs or something. That's like like we're some fans of a high school basketball team. The Amazonians. What? Okay, they act like we want to work there. Okay, whatever, I guess. By repeatedly returning to the premises after having been warned to quarantine himself after exposure to the virus COVID-19, I let my emotions draw my words and get the better of me. So this is their idea to like obfuscate, right? Is to move away from talking about how you fired a worker for getting people together to argue that they should be given like basic protection to stop themselves from dying from a disease, and you're too stingy to do that for them, and move it to how one person put everyone else at risk while the benevolent overlords were trying to save everyone from imminent demise. Daddy Amazon was there, and this disgusting worker, this flea-infected cretin, decided to come in and ruin everything for everyone. Yes, indeed. And Amazon wants to make this about me, but whether Jeff Bezos likes it or not, this is about Amazon workers and their families elsewhere. Small says that this is true. They're trying to move the They're trying to move the attention from this onto Smalls rather than the company's lack of due diligence taking care of their employees. What is this? Amazon faced criticism from legislators, union leaders, and warehouse workers about the lack of protective measures for employees who continue to come to work amid the virus outbreak. On Wednesday, workers at Romulus, Michigan factory walked out, while workers in Staten Island staged a protest on Monday. Like, why should you have to protest for basic protection? Why? Why should you have to fight for that? Why? I don't think that's right. I don't know about you, but I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right at all. These people should be protected for the work that they do. Doctors get protected for the work that they do. Nurses do as well. Obviously, we're not doctors or nurses or anything, but we still cannot protect ourselves the way we can. We've been thrusted, foisted into the to the top of this thing, where we put ourselves and our family in the most danger. But we don't get basic protection. Beautiful. That's about all I wanted to say about this here. And obviously, with all of this going on, I got to move this back down. With all of this going on, and you know how workers wanting basic things like not bringing home a deadly virus that will kill their family and friends. Ben Shapiro had to chime in. Benny Spenny, Big Brain Ben, facts don't care about your feeling Ben. Israelis like to build and Palestinians like to bomb and shit in the streets. Shapiro had to chime in to tell us all why people wanting basic protection is actually them being greedy, and how fighting for those sorts of basic rights is actually makes you about as terrible as a child rapist. Let's hear Ben's side of the story. Thank you, Ben. Please tell us why we are all dumb.
In a time of pandemic, not because of bad worker pay, but because you just want more money. I'm sorry, everyone else lost their job. Everyone else lost their damn job. Okay, like, if I were Amazon and I had the capacity, I'd fire everybody who strikes right now, and I'd bring in workers who are willing to work.
For one, this is illegal. You cannot do this. You cannot fire. You can't just start just firing everybody because they want better work. I'm pretty sure that's a form of union busting, which is very, very illegal. You can't step in and do that. That's illegal. Employers can't do that. Thank God they can't do that, because that would make the world like a quantifiably worse place for the fact that workers couldn't get together and argue for their rights collectively. That's incredible. But Ben doesn't care about workers. Ben cares about profits. Profit over people. That's Ben's MO. That's what he really cares about. Let's go back and let's listen to more of his argument.
If I were Amazon, but because you just want more money, I'm sorry, everyone else lost their job. Everyone else.
Listen, okay, just want more money. Even if this is just about wanting more money, yes, I think they should be entitled to more money. I think they very much should be entitled to more money, because let me remind you, they are being forced to work during a pandemic. They cannot protect themselves during a pandemic. They can't. Their line of work does not allow them to. They go out of the house every day, violating WHO, CBC, freaking like CNN, ABC, 123, and all these sorts of. You're touching your eyes. Please stop. Stop it. Leave my chat before you give me corona. All right. They're violating all of these sorts of guidelines because they don't have the choice. They don't have the choice. Is that or be fired, which right now is pretty bad. Like you said, people lost their jobs, but they act like they're in such a privileged position. They're not in a good position at all. They're not.
I had the capacity, I'd fire everybody who strikes right now, and I'd bring in workers who are willing to work. I would.
Ooh, scabs.
It's unconscionable. The reason I say it's unconscionable is not only are you depriving people of the supply lines that are keeping the country running right now, not only that, but Amazon offered you additional benefits already. This is not your striking because Amazon's forcing you to go to work. On March 31st, today, Whole Foods employees are going to call in sick to demand paid leave for all workers who stay home or self-quarantine during the crisis. free coronavirus testing for all employees, hazard pay. Here's the big one. Hazard pay of double the current hourly wage for employees who show up to work during the pandemic.
Okay. So they want testing to make sure that they're not sick. They want protective gear to make sure that they're not sick. And if they do get sick, they want to make sure that they can get paid so they can, buy food and keep the roof over their heads while they're sick. That sounds fine to me. And you can get on and you can go and you can complain or this or that about them wanting double the pay, right? That's probably the start of a negotiation, right? They probably wanted maybe like 50% or like 30% the pay. Maybe that's what they wanted. But they start off with double because you don't go into the negotiating room and come out with the same deal that you go in with. This is just basic negotiating facts. I don't know if anybody has ever, I don't know if Ben has ever like sold something or to anyone. You don't set the original price where you're going to barter, where where you're going to haggle. You don't set the original price exactly where you want it. You usually go a little bit higher because it's going to come down. For a fact it's going to come down. They're not going to get double pay. Even if they finally get into a room with the CEO of Whole Foods himself, they kick down the door and freaking Magna Carta put the deal, slap it down on his desk, along with all of their dicks consecutively, and go, you will sign this. That's not how it works. You're going to go in and argue for the deal, and it's going to come down. How much were they going to get? I don't know, but I hope they get more for, putting their families and lives at danger selling mayonnaise.
You want your pay doubled just for showing up to work?
Just for showing up to work.
In the country is out of work?
I love how he acts like everybody who still has a job is so incredibly privileged. Like they're in such a position. Everyone else has been laid off, and they're struggling, scrounging together money like pennies under the couch to buy chicken nuggets at McDonald's. And these disgusting people who put their lives in danger every single day, leaving their homes, are the perpetrators of the purest form of evil to capitalism, which is wanting better pay. How dare they?
I'm sorry, no. Okay, and by the way, the actual thing that Whole Foods has done, Whole Foods, buried in this article from Vice, has increased hourly pay for its workers already by $2 an hour in the midst of all this. They've offered to provide 2 weeks of paid sick leave.
$2. Wow. So instead of getting paid 10, I get paid 12. Wow. Thank you for the beautiful hazard pay. Well, I'll make sure not to spend it all in one place. Maybe I'll take it back to Whole Foods. Maybe I can buy with those $2. Maybe I can buy 1/6 of a can of cashews at Whole Foods. Wouldn't that be nice? Isn't that great? Thank you, Bezos, for all of the love. Yeah, incredible. Thank you, buddy.
Leave to workers who test positive for COVID-19 and said it would not penalize workers for calling out sick. So already saying we're not going to penalize you, we're not going to fire you if you call out sick, but you need to go get a test because we don't just want people staying home without getting a test, which is.
And they have to pay for that. What if you don't have the money for it? You don't have the money for it, and then what? You come to work, and you may be sick and you may not, but some of them might be sick because they don't get to control how many people they're around. Listen. They don't get to control how many people they're around. They can't do the most basic thing that governments and health organizations are saying around the world, which is control how many people you're around. And they can't do this very basic aspect of this. They can't do it. Why? Because they have to go to work. They're forced to go to work. And they're forced to go to work, and they're forced to pay for a test, which could cost up to $500 and or more. Or if you just can't find it. Some places aren't doing it. Around here, we just aren't doing it. We just don't have the tests. We just can't test. We just can't. I tried to look for a test because honestly, I thought I may have been sick. I'm in contact with hundreds of people a day. Hundreds, mind you. I get in my store. We get on a busy day, which has been every day since this whole thing started. We've been inundated with 300 to 450 cars a day with multiple people in those cars, and and I have to handle them. I have to get close to them. I have to hand them things. They have to hand me things. I have to touch money. I have to touch cards. People touch my hands. And what do? What, I get hand sanitizer after every couple cars? What, I wear gloves? I mean, I can do that. It's nice, but it's not going to help me, especially since this thing's airborne. I can't do that. When you're in contact with 350 people, and you only need to get and only one of them needs to have the virus and to give it to you, to have you contract it. So I don't think a 400 to 1 odd is very good. Listen, don't tell me the numbers, mostly because I'm illiterate, but that doesn't sound good. That's I don't want to. I'm not a betting man, okay? But I don't usually I don't go for that bet. The Rona always wins that bet, okay? 400 to 1. That's not a good bet, all right? Not at all. And so screw you for wanting not to kill your parents when you go. Your immunodeficient parents or your children when you go home. Screw you. You're very privileged for having the ability to die from a disease at any moment. And you should be fired for wanting basic protective wear like gloves.
Perfectly reasonable because you need the supply chains working. A Whole Foods worker in Chicago, organizer of the sick out who wished to remain anonymous because they feared retaliation. They should be fired outright. The most obvious demand we have is for an increase in hazard pay. We're asking for double pay. Double pay. Since we first announced the intent to do a sick out, Whole Foods announced a temporary raise of $2 an hour, which isn't enough. Okay, I'm sorry. What happens if all the cops call out sick because they want double pay? What happens if all of the medical professionals call out sick because they want double pay?
Well, hopefully then they get double pay. That'd be the best thing. You organize to get double pay and then you get double pay. Wouldn't that be great? Or you organize to get double pay and then the company's like, well, crap. Now we actually have to take care of our workers. And instead of giving them double pay, they go in to negotiate and maybe they get 50% pay. 0.5% pay. Wouldn't that be great? Not 0.5%, 50% pay or 30%, something like that. Wouldn't that be great? That'd be fun. And I would assume they'd be happy with that. An increase in pay more than $2.
You want to talk? It's funny. Everybody is happy to talk about people in the speculative market buying up coronavirus masks and then trying to sell them for $1,000 on eBay. This is the same damn thing. You're asking for double pay in the midst of a pandemic because you know that those employees are necessary in order to make sure that the old people get their food.
Yes, thank you. Yep. Yeah. If just because you're an essential worker doesn't mean that now you're ineligible of protecting yourself, right? Like me, like I said, I'm considered an essential worker. I'm an essential worker because America would riot if they do not have unimpeded access to their chicken nuggets at any point in time during the day. This is true. That being said, I have people who are immunodeficient who are around me when I come home. I have to protect myself more than usual, and I can't do that because I have to come to work, and I don't have the luxury of sick leave. I don't have the luxury of being able to get tested whenever I want to make sure that me putting my life in danger and the life of my family members in danger every single day won't come back to haunt me. Can you imagine? I don't think an extra $2 is worth the invisible death of family members. That's just me. But apparently Ben doesn't even believe in that. Thank you, Ben. Very cool. And this is the state of America when Corona meets capitalism, and we get to see how workers' true colors really are when it's faced with profit or people. Usually profit wins out. Well, that's their job. But that's where we come in, us, the workers, to break that up, to show them who's boss. We are the real bosses. When they don't have workers, they don't have anything. That's the power we have. And hopefully we can leverage it more to make sure that people can really protect themselves during this great time of need. Much to the chagrin of Ben, I Hate Humans, Shapiro.